السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, this is our third class here in our Grateful course, which is an acronym. And this course was designed as an 8-week course by the permission of Allah. It was designed to help cope with dealing with, up and down life, dealing with negative events, positive events, up and down situations, specifically depression, as well as to deal with anxiety and all of these different feelings that we experience, which are natural, which are human emotions that we go throughout our lives. And we have to, inshallah ta'ala, be careful of not getting wrapped up or engulfed into these emotions without utilizing the coping skills that the Creator has offered us from the Kitab or the Sunnah. And also to keep in mind that this course is not a course that deals with clinical depression. I always want to make that disclaimer. If you need professional help or you need some help dealing with clinical depression, where you're on a deep level of depression, there's many different types of depression, then we advise that you seek the necessary professionals to get the necessary professional help. But this is generally dealing with depression, not clinical, but depression that you might go through, feeling down, feeling sad, or feeling distressed. And this is something that is regular depression that we deal with, okay? Also, keep in mind, we do not do one-on-ones. There will be no one-on-one counseling in this group. We do not advise anyone to share their experience here on this group. Only reason why, like we said, we're not professionals. So we don't want to open up the door to answering other people's problems in terms of from a professional standpoint. We don't want to do that. But what we would like to do is we would like to delve into see what the Creator, Allah Azza wa Jal, and the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have brought forth for us to help us combat some of these feelings which we have that are human emotions and human experiences, how to better deal with them and better be equipped. So we're going to utilize the Quran and the Sunnah, and one scholar in particular who works that we have based this whole entire course around is Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya. So we dealt with the first acronym, and that was the G, which stands for gratitude. We dealt with gratitude, and we dealt with shukr, which we understood that gratitude was shukr. We also dealt with the coping mechanism of gratitude. How does gratitude work as a coping mechanism against depression, against anxiety, against these bad feelings, grief, sadness, hopelessness, etc.? How does it work? We learned a little bit briefly what Ibn Qayyim brought, just a small little speck of what he brought pertaining to gratitude and the importance. Now we're moving into the second acronym, which is the R. The R stands for reflections. All right, the R stands for reflection. So this is going to be the second coping mechanism that we have looked at that can help us lift our spirits, help us come out of the stupor that we found ourselves in. In the Quran, Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Allah Jalla says, وَفِي خَلْقِكُمْ وَمَا بَثُّ مِن دَابَّةٍ وَمَا يَبُثُّ مِن دَابَّةٍ آيَاتٌ لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ وَمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مِن رِّزْقٍ فأحيا به الأرض بعد موتها وتصريف الرياح آيات لقوم يعقلون تلك آيات الله نتلوها عليك بالحق فبأي حديث بَعْدَ اللَّهِ وَآيَاتِهِ يُؤْمِنُونَ. In these following verses, Allah Jalla wa Ala highlights to us the importance of what we call tafakkur. All right? Fakkara yufakkiru. Reflections. Tadabbur. Which we have been ordered and have been obligated to follow in the Quran. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says, in your creation, here He's talking to man, وَفِي خَلْقِكُمْ, in your creation, and that of the different beasts, the different animals, the different species that we see, there is an ayat. And Allah didn't say ayat in singular. He said that there are ayats. He made it plural. There are multiple signs that can be extracted for people who have absolute conviction. Here Allah Jalla wa Ala telling you that yourself is an ayat. The creation, what you consist of, what you composed of, all of that is an ayat. All of that is a sign. So when you really look at what Allah is telling us, and as we're going to see, Ibn al-Qayyim is going to open our eyes, bismillah. When you really look at what Allah is telling us, He's telling you that your whole purpose, your whole being has a cause, it has a reason. And the faculties and the different things that you've been given to recognize that cause and to reflect upon that cause is important, that you don't sit idly and that you think that you sit around and think that you just exist and that you go through pain and that you experience these different things, that all of them don't have a reason to their madness. You know, as they say, there's a method to the madness, right? They don't have a reason. They do. They have a reason. Even pain have a reason. Okay? Pain that you experience, different trials and tribulations that you go through, have reasons and causes. And what we're taught, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to explain here in the Quran. He explains it very well and understanding. As Allah Jalla wa Ala said, وَمَا أَصَابَكُمْ, that whatever beflicts you, whatever calamity or trial or tribulation that happens to you, that you go through, Allah mentioned in that verse, whether it's وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, whether it was in yourselves or it was that which take place around you on the earth that you live in. Allah Jalla wa Ala said it did not happen except that He already decreed it and it had been written already, that you were going to undergo those certain circumstances and tribulations and trials and calamities, setbacks, disappointments, sadness, grief. You were going to experience all of that. You understand? The burden has been lifted from you to know that the Creator is already aware and had already prepared you and have decreed for you that you are going to go through these things. So Allah Jalla wa Ala is telling you, وَفِي خَلْقِكُمْ, in yourself there are ayats, in the different animals that we take for granted. How many of us love cats? How many of us love dogs? How many of us love different types of insects and different types of species of different animals? How many of us that we love it? Some of us have pets and we love them. But how many of us really look at them as a sign? How many of you actually marvel over their creation and the one who is responsible for creating them? How many of us actually think about that? So this is what Allah is telling you to do in this verse. He said that the people who have absolute conviction, they have yaqeen, which they are not unsure, they are not doubtful, these are the ones who are going to actually reflect. Then Allah says in the next verse, in the alternation of the night and the day, okay? And whatever Allah sends down from the heavens, like right now, for those who are experiencing the weather changing over, it's raining, it's a little bit snowflakes, it's snowy. All of these different things which Allah sent down from the heaven from rizq, because rain is a form of rizq. It's not a given. Let it not rain, it will be a drought, right? And animals and even humans will feel that. If certain things don't happen, those things that happen is a rizq. Rizq is not just money. Rizq is many multiple different things. If Allah does not allow the heavens to rain, we'll be in trouble. If Allah will remove the sun and don't allow the sun to come out, the plants and the trees will be in trouble. We will be in trouble, even in regard to oxygen and so forth, and the different things that we need to be exposed to. So all of these things are rizq. Allah says whatever He sent down from the heavens is rizq. فَأَحْيَا بِهِ الْأَرْضِ, and by way of sending these things down, He give life to the earth, to the different recitations, the different plants, the different things that we have, that we eat, that we need for survival. He actually sent them down after their death. And he is the one who tasrif al-riyah, by him exchanging the winds, controlling the winds, as far as the winds being actually strong, it being windy or not being windy. The winds, the changing of the winds are signs for people who have intellect. So now here Allah Jalla wa'ala describes that the believer is the one who has yaqeen, certainty, and absolute complete conviction, and also one who has aql. Do you understand? And the aql here is the one that acknowledges these signs that Allah Jalla wa'ala mentioned. So Allah said, these are signs of Allah Azza wa Jal, which we recite unto you, O Muhammad, in truth. And then which narration or which story, okay, after Allah Azza wa Jal and his signs would they believe in? Allah Jalla wa'ala is pointing to a fact here that what signs actually will they take in consideration and really believe in after all of this. So it's what is he telling you and I? He's telling you basically there isn't nothing he needs to send if you don't get it. There's nothing else spectacular that he needs to send to you. What he sent is sufficient enough for you and I to understand. It's enough. It's sufficient enough. He don't need to send anything else. What after this? All of these different things that I have created and have shown, even the Ravi themselves, is an actual sign. What is it after that will they believe in? And you say, okay, brother, you're saying reflection. How do that play a part in my sadness and my grief and my depression? How do that help me? You're going to see how it helps you. Because now you're going to shift the focus. You're not going to dwell on the problem here. After you really delve deep into this, you're not going to dwell on the problem here. The problem is not going to no longer exist after you start utilizing these key components. I'm not talking about clinical depression now. I'm talking about regular depression that we all experience, that we all go through, and different types of heightened anxieties that we go through, different pains and emotions and feeling down and grief and sadness. All of these different things we went through. No one is different. The Anbiya went through them. As Allah highlight those in their stories in the Quran. Allah Jalla wa'ala, he says in another verse, explaining the meaning of reflections. Because when we talked about tafakkur, we talk about reflections. Allah Jalla wa'ala, he says, إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. In these verses in Surah Al Imran, Allah Jalla wa'ala, he says, indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the alternation of the night and the day, are multiple signs for people of understanding. So before we mention the verses, he mentioned yaqeen, absolute conviction. He mentioned also aql. Here he mentioned that they have a strong lub, a strong sense of reasoning, that their faculties are actually operating at its highest capacity, that they are understanding what all of these things are for, meaning that each of these things have purpose. They are not there just for haphazardly. Each of these things have purpose. And if they have purpose, then it's upon us to understand their purpose. Okay? This is what he's saying to you. He says, then he described what type of people here talking about in reflections. He said, Alladina yatafakkarun. He said, Alladina yadhkurun Allah. Those who remember. Yadhkurun Allah. Those who remember Allah. Standing, sitting down, or lying down. وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Now they take their, pay attention, now they take their remembering to a higher level. They start to ponder. They start to reflect. They don't see these things just being there just to be there. They realize they're there for a reason. So Allah says they start to reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth. And they say, my Lord, this is the outcome. And this is why we said, and we're going to continue to say this, this is why it's important that no matter how intelligent a person may be, no matter what certificate or degree a person has, no matter how high he reached in the academic world, he is not intelligent if he do not recognize and he do not submit to the Creator. Why are we saying this? Because all of these things were designed so that you do very just that. That's what they were there for. All of these things point and indicate to you and I that you must submit and surrender to the Creator. That's what it's there for. And this is what Allah is saying after the end. Look at the result. The people who reflect on all of these things, their result is they're going to say, our Lord, you have not created all of this in vain. مَا خَلَقْتُ هَذَا الْبَاطِلَ. You did not create all of this in vain. It's a purpose for it. It's a reason for it. You did not just make it out of mere jest, as the Hindus, they claim that Allah is the puppeteer and that all they do is sit around and they just use strings and just float around and nothing is really just frivolous. وَلِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. But think about it. I mean, on an intelligent level here, think about this, what he's saying to you. He's saying that all of this is not made in vain. They make this statement. And then the outcome of it, because they realize that if there's a creator and that all of this is not in vain, that the creator is deserving of being worshipped, then there must be a consequence if you do not worship him and if you do not reflect on those signs that will lead you to worship him. If you didn't connect it, I'm connect it for you. You're not worshiping Allah without reflections. Reflections is used to tadabbur, pondering, is used to encourage you, to drive you to worship the Creator. These are things He has placed here for you to submit and to surrender. So this is why we say that there is no amal, there is no actions without reflections. You must reflect. You must ponder. And when you do, wallahi, those problems that we face, those pains and those painstaking of feeling down, and we're going to feel down. That's natural occurrence. We're going to feel down. You're not going to be upbeat all the times. But there's some comfort that you can take. There's some comfort, some relief. Not that the fact that the Creator already told you that with every difficulty there are two reliefs, whether you understand this or not. He gave you two reliefs for one difficulty that you may experience. Whether you really understand that, whether that needs to be painted out or drawn out for you how you're getting two reliefs versus one difficulty. But the fact that it's some comfort there by you just reflecting, then this is what we're telling you. That problem of yours that you have magnified, that you feel the weight of it inside you and it's locking you down and holding you down, that problem is going to shrink. It's going to start coming down once you start utilizing these coping mechanisms that the Creator have given you. Once you start really reflecting, you understand? It's a difference in a level of seeing something like, oh, that's beautiful, but not giving a second thought to it. When you stop and really give a thought to that thing, and you really ponder that thing, now you are doing reflections, and it's only going to lead to one direction. All of these things are only going to lead to one direction. And this is why they ended with Subhanaka, glory and far you above that which they ascribe to you. Fakina adhabana, save us from the fire. It leads them to that direction because they know there's a consequence for those who do not reflect and worship the Creator. They know it's a consequence that you did not create all of this in vain. I wanted to bring those verses first before we start reading the works of Ibn al-Qayyim, so that we can have an understanding of the meaning of what we call reflections. What does it mean, tafakkur? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's a hadith that is attributed to him that he said, tafakkaru fillah. I want you to see this narration where he says, ponder about the creation. Tafakkaru, ponder. Ponder about the creation of Allah. Wala tafakkaru fillah. But do not ponder concerning Allah. Meaning, other words, don't go into the questioning of the components that made Allah or how Allah made it. Does he have a creator or someone before? Stay away from that. But ponder on the creation. Ponder on the different things. Reflect on those different things. Ibn Qayyim, he breaks down man. And that's what all of us are, whether we're male or female. And if you don't know, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the women are what? Shaqr Rajal. Rijal. Shaqr Rijal. Meaning they are the twins of men. A woman is just a man. The feminine, she's just a twin half of a man. She's given different things. She's a twin half of a man. Men. She's a twin half of a man. The Prophet ﷺ made in that hadith, beautiful hadith is authenticated. She is created from a man. She's the twin half of a man. Ibn Qayyim, he says that the different proportions that make up or constitute man is that he was first created from clay, and then that turned into a seed, was made from a draught of despised fluid. And we know what that fluid is. We don't have to go into details with that. Secondly, that he was created from a handful that collected from all of the parts of the earth. And these are based off different narrations and ayats that he is drawing this from. So that it contains the good and the evil. Alright? So that it contains the good and the evil. The easygoing and the intolerant. The liberal and the miserly. It was Jibril alayhi salam who took this handful, and then it was formated until it turned into mud. Then Allah fashioned man from this as he deemed fit. Then he breathed into him his spirit, so that he was a human flesh and blood, talking and reasoning. Later on, Allah had his angels prostrate themselves before man and taught him his names of everything. We know that most of this stuff is in the Quran. Number 3, that he was blessed with intellect, knowledge, understanding, eloquence, and speech. I want to stop here real quick. These things are not a given. There are some people who are partly formed. There are some people who have miscarriage. Allah says this in Surah Hajj. And the Quran, Allah Jalla tells you in the verse that deals with the proof and evidence of resurrection, and that people doubt that you will be resurrected, Allah mentioned the stages of man. And in that verse, he highlights the point that he is the one who takes the infant or takes the actual seed or the making of that man, whether it's partially, meaning a miscarriage, or whether he allows that one to reach its full potential. You understand? So Allah Jalla wa'ala is the cause of that. And I mean, how many of us really think about that? Miscarriages. A lot of females suffer from that, and associated with those miscarriages are depression. There is a feeling that you feel when you lose a child. And the mother who is the carrier of that child feels it more than the father. And it weighs in on her. And it weighs so hard like it's bricks that's just pulling her down. Like if she was floating to the bottom of the sea, you know, they place something, heavy bricks or something like that so they can pull it down. It weighs on her that heavy that she lost a child. That she carried this child, whether it's for 2 months, and then she have a miscarriage. Or 4 months, and then she have a miscarriage. And she can really have wanted a child. And that depression, which the mental health professionals to this day, they know that there are signs of depression from this, but they still don't know what's the actual crux of it. But the Creator, knowing these different things, how do you think if the woman who's feeling that pain, feeling that empty hole, she's fallen into it, how would her mindset be if she knew that the Creator have a hand in it? How do you think she would think? If she honestly really believed that the Creator himself had a hand in her miscarriage, what would be her outlook? How would it help her in that time? Would she feel despondent? Would she feel down? How would she feel? It would be a little bit of relief there. A burden that is actually lifted. That the one who gave her the child in the first place is the one who had the hand in it, that it was not decreed for her with the child to have it. And he is the son, he's the same one. Just because he didn't allow that child to actually reach his full potential, he can replace it with another. Because he is the one who gave it in the first place. How many people who use the tools that they were given from the Creator himself, such as the despised fluid, such as the two of them coming together, and such as them trying to conceive a baby. And never do it. Never have the child. What do that really say if you really think about it? One, it shows you that the human beings themselves don't have a control over this process. And if the human beings don't have control over the process of children, and actually, it don't matter if they got that. There's people who have been together for years trying to have a child and they still can't have a child. All of the tools are working. All of the functionality there. She's ovulating. She's open. This would be the time that is right for the man and her to copulate and to actually have relations and for them to have a child, and they still never have it. What do this show you? This shows you that the control of this process is not in your hands, which should also indicate to you and show you that if it's not in your hands, it's in someone's hands. So whose hands is it in? It's in the Creator's hands. And if you can acknowledge that, and if you can actually think about that and really reflect on that process is up to the Creator, then what is going to lead you to know that if you did not have the child, it also was up to the Creator. And if you come to that conclusion, which you should have come to that conclusion with the right mindset, then the burden will be lifted from you. And then you can actually, even though you go through the physical pain of being separated from that child, it's going to help you navigate through that pain and not get swallowed up by it. There have been many cases of families who have been together and they have been given a gift of a child, and Allah Jalla wa'ala caused the child to be lost. And the family, the husband and the wife, separate due to the child being lost. Allah takes the life. And the depression sets in on both of them. And then the blame and then the feeling sets in on both of them. And then one is blaming the other one, and the other one is blaming the other one. Or one can't look at the other one because that gift is no longer there. And we have examples of a female Sahabiya who, when her husband came back home from his journey, and Allah have taken the soul of their child, instead of her telling him right off the back that she lost her son or that he lost his child, she prepared for him a meal. She tended to him. She sat down, made sure that he ate. And she broke it this heartbreaking news that are grounds for depression, if you don't understand what I'm saying. She departed with him some news that are heartbreaking and that can set in for this depression. She told him that, what do you say? And she put it in the form of a parable. What do you say that if someone loans you something and that loaner is now coming back, that lender is coming back for the loan that he have gave you, the loan that he's given you, he's coming back to collect back on that loan, what would you say? And the husband, he said, it's the right of that loaner, that lender, that he gets back what he gave. So she said to him that indeed Allah is the lender, and he taking back the loan that he gave in us, which is our child. But look how she did it. She fed him. She didn't rush. It's so many etiquettes, and it's not the time for that, but there's so many etiquettes that can be drawn from this that we must realize. When it comes to devastating news, the way that the news is departed or actually parted to another person plays a part on how the volume of that sadness or that grief or that depression will turn up. So you have to be careful when you part in devastating news to somebody. You have to take in their state. You have to take in their mindset before you give them this departing news, this devastating news. She knew that. She was keen. She was intelligent. She was a believer. So she knew, instead of just dropping down and bringing this devastating news to her husband, she fed him. And then she approached him in the best of manners by connecting, which I'm also going to get you to connect the dots with me here. She was able to be this calm, even under this severe case, which is a groundbreaking for depression. She was able to be like this because of what? Because she knew who took the child. She knew who gave the child. She knew who the child belonged to. So when she actually locked in that in, it helped her fight and navigate through the depression itself. It doesn't mean that she didn't grieve. It doesn't mean that she didn't cry. It doesn't mean that she didn't feel sad. It doesn't mean that she didn't feel the pain or the stung of the separation, because it doesn't clarify how old the child was when the child passed away. It doesn't clarify how long or the memories that they had with the child. But what it does shows us is that because of her strong connection to the one who actually was control of it, she was able to deal with the brunt of the depression that comes from losing a child. And she was able to pass it on to her husband in the most beautiful mannerisms. Do you understand that? So this is what we're telling you. If you reflect, it will help you to face your depression. So he says that he was blessed with intellect. Notice this. Man, as Allah Jalla wa Ala, he says in the Quran, وَهُوَ الَّذِي يُخْرِجُكُم مِّن بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. In the 16th chapter of the Quran, Surah Nahl, Allah Jalla wa Ala said, it is Allah. Allah is the one who have brought you forth from the wombs of your mothers, not knowing anything. So the origin of man is that he's ignorant, that he doesn't have, even though he have these faculties, these qualities, he still doesn't know. The origin of man is that he does not know. So in that case, he has to be educated. He has to be taught. And in that case, that is a blessing of itself, because he needs someone to teach him. He needs someone to show him the directions. So here he says, man was blessed with the intellect. Man was blessed with the knowledge. Man was blessed with the understanding. Man was blessed with eloquence, with speech itself. And when you recognize these things and you ponder on these things, you realizing what? What is the main thing you should realize from this that will help you with your depression and your anxiety? The concept of what we call control. The major component in depression, if you don't understand it, we're talking about regular depression again, guys, not clinical depression. The major component is control. Once we realize control in its full capacity, who has it and who doesn't. Once we realize this, we are halfway won the battle. We're going to experience these pains. We're going to experience these setbacks. They are human emotions. But the key is not to fall into them and let them suck us up and to make us think bad and to make us feel as though there isn't no way out and that there isn't no exit. That's the key. You're going to brush up with it. No one telling you that you're not. If anyone coming along telling you that you're not going to have a bad day or off day or a sad day or be depressed or be anxious or have anxiety, they're wrong. They're incorrect. No one can tell you that you're not going to face it. If someone tell you, oh, you're a believer, you shouldn't feel that way, they're wrong. You're a believer, you shouldn't allow it to suck you up. You shouldn't allow yourself to fall deep into it, because you have a lot of things that the Creator gave you, which are coping mechanisms that help you along the way. That's basically what it's saying. And it's important that you understand that, or that you grasp that. Tayyib, he says here that he was privileged with the quality of modesty. He didn't know nothing about that. Where do you get this feeling of shyness from? We talk about shyness a lot, and I think we don't really understand it from an Islamic perspective. Shyness is not defined by a Webster dictionary. I want you to know that. Al-Haya, the word that is used for is Al-Haya. And Al-Haya has meanings. And the ulama, they break down Haya into two categories. You have that which we call Tabariyya, that which is a natural Haya, natural modesty. Someone who is naturally opposed or feel a way that if someone was to see this or that this was to be exposed, they feel something inclined. This is natural. Some people have it. Like Uthman ibn Affan. Okay? The third Khalifa. He was naturally shy. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said what? What he said about him? He said, the angels are shy around Uthman. Because he had a natural high shyness. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ had exposed part of his knee. Abu Bakr came in, he kept it there. Umar came in, he kept it there. Uthman came in, he covered it. Here's a man who had the Prophet ﷺ conscious and actually covering his knee. Think about that. Natural shyness. Then there's the type of shyness, the ulama said that the second kind is what we call the one that is not natural, that you have to learn. And this is going to be based off of knowledge. Okay? And then incorporated that is what we call muru'ah. And what is something that is integrity. And something that is what's not looked down in terms of the society that plays in orphan. And what's not looked down. Is it looked down that a person is eating outside? Do you live in a society where if you eat food outside, that's looked down? Okay? So in that case, you wouldn't have shyness in there because you know that everyone is already susceptible to eating outside. You understand? So there are two types of that shyness. But who gave you all of this? This feeling that you have. This is the point. This is the reflection. The Creator. Man didn't have this. Allah gave him these faculties. That he was privileged with two means of expression. Oral and written. I want you to pay attention to this because this is all blessings. The fact that I am talking and it can make sound. The fact that sound still travels. And sound, when you say sound, it don't die out. It still travels. The fact of that matter. Henceforth, the Prophet ﷺ, he said when they heard that rock in the authenticated hadith, he said that's a rock that finally reached the bottom of Jahannam. Me and you probably can't fathom that hadith. It's obligatory that we believe in it, but we probably can't even actually fathom the actual in-depth of that hadith. Right? So, sound and travel, we don't understand it in its totality. There are different scientists who actually try to understand it, and Allah gives them a little bit of understanding of that knowledge. So the fact that you have words, as it was mentioned about Neil Armstrong while he was in space, he kept hearing this sound. And the sound that he heard when he got back to Earth, he recognized it was the Adhan. Sound travels. Sound. Who gave us this speech and these different components? You have to think about it. It's not there for nothing. It's reflections. You can spend a whole day just thinking about one thing. You forgot about your problem, I guarantee. The problem, you forget. And this is something that we don't understand. They say that substance abuse is more so like a gateway by way of depression. Meaning a person who is depressed, they can easily delve into substance abuse. Why do you think that's the case? Because they're looking for something to mim or to numb or to remove the actual feeling of that emptiness, because it's an open abyss, it's a deep hole. They're looking for something to fill it up. They're looking for something to move it from their mind. So they use something that they can feel that will bring them not to think about that thing. But here the Creator is giving you something that is way better than intoxicating and harming yourself even further. He's giving you something that you can use, that the faculty you're supposed to use it for. He didn't give you a brain for nothing. He didn't give you eyes for nothing. He didn't give you hands for nothing. He gave you these different things so that you can utilize them and see those signs. So when you start to reflect on things and their purposes, you're going to forget. You ain't had to use no pill. You didn't have to use no drugs. You didn't have to use no alcohol. You didn't use none of that. You're going to forget the problem itself. Because you're going to be so wrapped up on the amaze just at that stage, before you start to even delve and extract the benefits of each thing. He said that he was endowed by Allah with the power of acquiring knowledge by several means. So a person have a gift of writing something down. Writing is a gift because there are people who can't read nor write. We know that the Prophet ﷺ was one of them. Allah called him an ummi, meaning he could not read nor write. There are some people who are gifted with that blessing who can read or write. You understand? So that's mean it's a blessing. Not everybody's endowed with that. But there are people who are. And here he says Allah gives the people the means or the power to acquire certain knowledge that others cannot acquire or not think about, even though they possess a mind. They both have a brain. They both have the same faculty, but it's not working in the same capacity, because Allah gives to each, which also shows another indication of the virtue of the Creator. And it also shows a key component with depression, control. Remember we talked about that. Another thing is that he was distinguished with certain motives and impulses that serves to accomplish what is good for man. You see how he's drawing this picture that half of the time me and you probably wouldn't even take time to really think about. I'm going to be honest with you. We probably don't even give it that much thought. All of these different things, we probably really don't give it that much thought. Why? Because we got to worry about the PICO bill. We got to worry about the landlord. We got to worry about our children. We got to worry about our husband. We got to worry about our wives. We got to worry about jobs. We got to worry about our vehicle. We got to worry about all of these different things. But what keeps gnawing at us is because everything is not falling in place. And if it's not falling in place, and this is happening, that is happening, then that problem just festers and it sits there and it grows. And then it affects you physically, where it affects your appetite, where it affects you not eating properly, and then it affects you not wanting to do anything, and you become inactive, and you don't want to do nothing. You don't want to deal with people, and it stops you from wanting to do things that are motivation. So you find yourself as a recluse or secluding yourself from others because you didn't already perceive in your mind, no one can understand the feeling that you're going through. No one can relate to what you're going through because that basic component of things not being in line or in harmony with you, which goes back to control again. And if you truly took the time to reflect like you're supposed to do, you're going to find out in your reflection that really you have nothing. Nothing. Even though you're feeling that way, that feeling, you will not fall headlong to it because you know you have nothing to worry about because all of this have been orchestrated for you. And that you are not in control. And that you have been placed into this design. And that you are not the one that caused the design. Do you understand? And so when you remove and start shifting these thoughts and these concepts, then it makes it easier to deal with life. You're not shackled down with the problems of life. Others are. And you're able to navigate through life with that. Okay? He says that man was distinguished with strength, desire, and will. Where do you think that come from? The law and commandments are to be permanently observed until the man meets his Lord. That man was not created without a purpose. All of these things can be extracted through the components of man. That man is distinguished from other creatures in appearance and shape. We don't look like animals. You don't look like a bear. You don't look like a cat. You don't look like a lion. You don't look like any fish or, that's in the sea. You don't look like none of those things. Those creatures and different creatures, you don't look like that. We look different from them. That man is that man is an indivisible whole, composite of soul, mind, and body. Okay? It's important. We're going to mention this from Ibn al-Qayyim. He said, by considering the verses in the Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has urged his servants to reflect upon him, one would indeed to be led to learn about Allah, about his oneness and attributes of perfection, to learn about aspects of his might as attested by the absoluteness of his power, the infinite nature of his wisdom. Do you ever think how nothing goes out of sync? The two seas, one salt, one water, how there's an individual barrier, and if one don't overflow the other, how night and day does never get mixed up, how the sun and the moon never runs together, never crash into each other, how all of these different things work in complete, perfect harmony and balance. That if it was too much of this, it would be disaster. That if it was too much of that, it would be disaster. But it's the right amount of mix that is there. You ever think about that? It's just really telling you, you can see the infinite of his wisdom by allowing certain things to happen, different things that you go through, down to the crying of a baby. How many of us think about that? Don't you know that a baby crying is a wisdom in that? Do you understand that? The infinite wisdom of the Creator, that there's a moisture in the brain, that if the baby doesn't cry when coming out, that moisture has the potential to kill the baby. And that by the baby expressing the crying is a form of releasing the fluid of the moisture in the brain? Do you understand the connection there? That fluid is actually released once the baby cries. We don't understand certain things happen, and we don't even give it really two thoughts to think about these things. We just think that they're there and it's a given. No, it's not. And when you realize that your problem isn't a given, and your problem only can happen because of two circumstances, you understand? It's either happened because the Creator, number one, we already know He decreed it, that He's testing you via the problem by allowing you to undergo it, or because of something you did which offset the balance in the first place, which brought it onto yourself. And even the Creator in His infinite wisdom, He doesn't allow you to feel the weight of it. So وَيَعْفُوا عَنْ كَثِيرٍ, as Allah said. وَيَعْفُوا عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. And the important part here of this verse, if you're not making the connections, when He say وَيَعْفُوا عَنْ كَثِيرٍ, by Him saying عَنْ كَثِيرٍ, there is no interpretation of what عَنْ كَثِيرٍ means. That's why they leave it blanket. They say what? He pardoned much. But you don't know how much is much. You don't know which part He's pardoned, which not. It's no limit. وَيَعْفُوا عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. He pardoned much. What is that much that He's pardoning? You don't know. But He said وَيَعْفُوا عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. Pardoning, and here it explained that al-afu is what? It is to overlook the actual deed. Reflect. He says His mercy, His generosity, His clemency, His kindness, His justice, His grace, His anger, His reward, His punishment. It is through reflection on these facts that He willed His servants to know Him. And it is for this reason that He exhorted them to reflect upon His signs. That's what all of that stuff is designed for. It's for you to know the Maker. That's what it's for. Your whole life, the time span that you have, is for you to be on this earth, to know the Creator in order to worship the Creator properly. And He sent you means of doing that. He gave you faculties for which you can deduce this, and He gave you revelation and messengers which you can come to a conclusion or to ascertain or to reach that conclusion. So if you're not utilizing these things in the purpose that they are designed, then whose fault is it that now they are set with all of these problems? Allah says, ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِ النَّاسِ. Allah says in the Quran that these earthquakes, pay attention now, that these disasters, okay, that these unnatural recurrence that happen, that these diseases and sickness and all of this different stuff, this destruction that take place on earth is due to what man's hands have earned. I made a complete earth. I made a complete earth. I made everything down to the core that your body can survive in this earth. That there's no other galaxy or planet that we know of that the Creator have indicated to us that you can survive. Besides the fact that they keep trying to test the understanding of Mars. But that's just one galaxy. There's way many more galaxies than that. But you understand what I'm saying? So down to the perfect point of you being on this earth. The Creator has created. So now when you go and do something to upset that balance, because you're ignorant and because you're following your desires, you upset that balance. Then you have a nerve to cry and look at the Creator now, because you at the same time upset something that you don't realize that you upset. And then those problems coming in. And this is why that disasters and that earthquakes and those different things take place, because of what we have upset in the balance of the earth. If you don't understand the verse. And then even after that verse, Allah Jalla says in that same verse, He allowed them to taste some of it, of what their hands have earned, so that they can return. Still not all of it. Still not all of it. He allowed them to take some of it. He take the weight off of it. It is with, and I'm getting ready to stop. It is with this in mind that I hear mentioned a number of signs as referred to in the Quran, so they may be a reminder. So let man look at or observe from what he has been created. This is actually a command, by the way. Allah said, "Fal." He used the lam wa amr. He's commanding us to look at what we come from. And in other words, He said, "Wa fi anfusikum afala tubsirun." Just as there are signs within your own selves, can you not then see? All right? So these verses are highlighting to us, which I'm going to mention here. Because he mentioned a group of verses. In many places in the Quran, the human is urged to reflect and ponder over the starting of his creation, the growth, and the end. Do you understand that? The growth and the end. So, in our next class, which will be our 4th class, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to highlight the key component of reflection being a coping mechanism. And we're going to go in some of those things and how it all correlate up to, inshallah ta'ala, to fighting off the problems that we are faced with in life, and how we can use this to serve us better. And these are actually coping mechanisms, even though I'm terming it coping mechanisms, but these are literally actually things that the Creator has given you and I to utilize to navigate through life and its problems. And if we utilize them in the correct way, it's going to work. It's going to work. And I do have a problem with, me personally, I have a problem with to believe that the Creator created everything and he left out the details on how to fight depression. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. It contradicts my belief. If I believe that the Creator created all of these things and these different emotions, and he did not explain to us how to deal with life, how to navigate through life, how to remove ourselves from all of these problems that we found ourselves in, it will be a contradiction to me. And I can't believe that, because I believe my Lord is all perfect. And my Lord has shown me that he has given me methods which I can use to not fall into the abyss and to keep me navigating through life and understanding that. And this is what we were trying to do in our humble attempt. And this small little course, which is only 8 weeks, based off the acronym called Grateful, we are trying to show you that each of these things are classical things that are taken from Islam that show you that there are things you can use when you are in a problem or in a fix or feeling down, that you can use these things and they will instantly, I'm not talking about do it and wait a couple of weeks and see if you're going to see some results. I'm talking about the moment you do it, you're going to instantly see a result. Guaranteed. Why? Because the Creator came up with this, not me. It's instantly things that can actually turn your mood from down to up if you just do a fraction of what we're talking about doing. So this is what we were able to bring today in our 3rd class, dealing with the 2nd acronym, and that is the meaning of reflections. Inshallah ta'ala, you took something from it, from the words of Ibn al-Qayyim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make his grave spacious and allow us to benefit and retain from the Quran and also from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I have some more affirmations, some forms that's going to be coming up throughout the day and tomorrow. I'm going to be posting up. Please take your time out, have fun, download them, use it. They are used there so that you can use them in your daily life, journals and things like that, so that you can reflect. So they're going to be used to help you reflect on certain different things. Jazakallah khairan. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.